Hey, you guys. Thank y'all so much for being here. I love all the smiling faces. That makes me feel good. Thank you guys for being here, and thank you for wanting to listen to what I'm so passionate about. And what led me to this passion is one girl that I mentor. And so out of the 3 years that I worked at the Boys and Girls Club in youth development, I've heard many stories from our students through a lot of things that they've been through. But this one girl, she really changed my perspective on what it meant to me to be a mentor. And we had a conversation one day, and it was a normal conversation, but then it kind of got deep. And what she said to me is that I just want to find my purpose. I keep on getting in trouble. It's like I'm lost. I keep going in these same circles, and I know that there's no point of living this life if I don't know my purpose. And so I want to find it before it's too late. And I just looked at her with my mouth wide open, like, what? How old are you again? And she said 13. And I was like, wow, could you get that already? It took me so long to get that. And I was intimidated by this a little bit, but I decided to ask her anyway. And I said, well, if you don't mind, if you would like, I would like to help you find your purpose. Do you want that? And she just looked at me, and she just bombarded me with questions. She just questioned me for a while, and after a while, she finally just told me, well, yeah, you can help me, but I mean, every time someone tells me that they're going to help me, they end up leaving. And so I can't really remember what I said after that, but I remember handing her off to her foster mom as she went home, and I walked back to my car, and I prayed to the Lord, and I said, God, I really need your help. I want to accept this challenge, but I need you so I don't mess up. And so thank God that I've been able to walk with her for over a year now, and it's been such a blessing to my life. And one thing I've realized is that my view of juvenile delinquency and foster youth was all wrong. Yes, she's had run-ins with juveniles, she's been in fights, she's been suspended, she's been through a lot of stuff, but what she helped me to realize is that there's always a why behind everything. And she opened me up, and she shared with me the trauma that she's experienced, the psychotic breakdown she had to witness in her home, the domestic violence that she experienced. And one of the worst things about hearing this story is the realization that she's not the only one. She's not the only one in Nashville that's going through this. And she's not the only one, even on a broader level, that's going through this in America. And what I think about is, how is our Christian community going to get involved? And I think about scriptures like loving our neighbors as ourselves and taking care of the widow and the orphan. And I feel that our community needs to get involved to help to prevent our youth from getting suspended and getting in touch with the juvenile court and stuff like that. We need those preventative measures, but also, what about intervening while they're in it? And I think about the statistic, the 60,000 youth that are being incarcerated every day in America. What about them? Those youth, they deserve the Christian community getting involved. They deserve us being there, praying with them, walking with them through this. And not all Christians think this way or do this, but even some Christians throw away incarcerated youth. But God, He wants to restore their minds. He wants to restore their lives. He wants to forgive them and give them second chances. And how can He do that when the people that He's called to do it, we won't go? And so that's why I propose to you today that restorative justice is one of those tools that we as Christians can use our faith in a practical way. And so just to explain what restorative justice is, it's pretty much all about mending the relationships in the community that have been harmed. So that youth who committed that crime that caused harm to the other youth that was harmed by it. They come together along with the communities and the restorative justice practitioner. And what they do is they come together and they figure out a plan in order for that harm to make amends for it. And so once this plan is implemented, the whole goal is for that student not to have to go into the juvenile court, and the files are dropped. And through this, there's a healing process that possibly wouldn't have happened before. That youth that was harmed, they're finding means to heal. That the one who caused that harm, they're finding ways to make amends and hold themselves accountable. And one of the most things that's the most important to me is the community. We're now held accountable to be in that growth process. I'd like to tell you about Impact Justice that was founded in 2015 in California, and they partnered with different organizations and communities for restorative justice diversion programs. And what they found is that students who participated in this, there was a 91% satisfaction rate for the ones who were harmed, and then the student who caused the harm, there was a 44% recidivism, 44% decrease in recidivism in the juvenile court system. And so because of this great success, they have spread across different cities, including Nashville. And so in 2017, Rosco Institute was founded by Travis Claybrooks alongside with our juvenile court here in Metro Nashville and District Attorney Office in Nashville. And I was able to speak with Travis Claybrooks as I was doing my research and preparing for this. And he explained to me his view on restorative justice and why it was so important right now. And what he said to me is that, you know, restorative justice is a practice, but it's also a paradigm. And in order for it to truly work, we have to begin to teach this new perspective. And we have to not only have it in a juvenile court system, but we have to have it in our homes, with our families, in our communities and organizations. And it truly has to be a way of life. And we can't just get in circles when the youth are in trouble, but we have to do it more often. We have to celebrate more together. And so that's when I bring it back around to us. What are we going to decide to do with this information? What are we going to go forward with this? And one of the things that I do want to leave you with is that sometimes when we think about the callings of God, we can really put God in a box, and we can say, oh, well, I know I feel called to do this thing, or I'm called to this people group in this population. And so, but if you've heard anything about if you've heard what I said and it caused any frustration or any desire or need to change, then maybe God is calling you to help in this movement. And now we have a video to show you about restorative justice.
And so I thank you. Is there anything you want to add from that video that you think is really important for people to know, especially if they're feeling like restorative justice might be, it doesn't sound like discipline in some ways. Mm-hmm. So what would you say to someone who's skeptical about restorative justice as an alternative to incarceration?
So one of the important things to note about the restorative program here in Nashville, Rosco Institute, is that it's centered around that victim. Well, I don't like to use the term victim, but that person that was harmed. So it's all based on what that person feels the need for the other person to make amends. So if that person does feel like incarceration needs to be a part of it, then that restorative justice practitioner will respect that community will respect that, and it is on that other youth to accept that, whatever is in that plan. So it could be incarceration for some time and then some therapy or community service, whatever that might be. But personally, And the hope for Rosco Institute is to completely divert that youth from even going into the juvenile justice system, and I think that's more important. And I also think that the fact that that youth is having to face that community and that student, that other child that they hurt, the fact that they have to admit their wrongs, explain why they did it, listen to them, I feel like that's a part of discipline too, because we have to take ownership of what we're doing. And it's a lot more easier to run away from it, to not think about it, to just do your time and then go about your life. And it's easier for us to just throw away people in jail too and not deal with like the root of things that are going on. So I hope that answers.
Yeah, that's an excellent answer. Thank you so much. And I wanted to add one more. Ask you to add one more thing to that. What about expense? Is this more expensive than incarceration?
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's thousands and thousands of dollars less. I'm sorry that I don't know the numbers on top of my head, but I have seen the difference, and it's better.
Amazing. Well, I think we would all like to hear an update on your mentee. How is she doing now? What does your relationship look like with her?
Because she is now in foster care, she is actually in a home with Christian parents. So they've really been a great part in her growth process. And I've seen her growth with just her attitude, with the way that she's reacting to issues. And even in our personal relationship, it's so funny because when I met her, I would constantly be praying about her, and I would ask her, Lord, like, I wish I could adopt her myself. I wish she could be mine. And she actually asked me and my husband if we could be her godparents. So she's doing great.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. I love that one of the practical steps that you offer is simply just being in intentional relationship with at-risk and incarcerated youth. But that, like you said, sounds really intimidating. What would you say to someone who is curious about that but might be afraid or feel unqualified to be in relationship with youth who have gone through hardships like what you're describing?
I think, for one, thinking about the meaning and the stigma and the stereotype about at-risk youth. And so sometimes we can just think about the ones who are, in the urban communities or like have the story that my mentee has, right? But there are many youth, whether they're in poverty or if they have wealthy parents or whatever their background is, any youth can be at risk. So I think, one, just trying to change our perspective on how we view that person. And then two, just knowing that, I know because for me, like I said, it was intimidating for me because what do I actually have to offer? But just being confident in God and just knowing that He can use you even in your brokenness, even though you're flawed, even though you might have some trauma, but God can still use you to help someone else.
That's amazing. Thank you. And the program you work with, is that Steadfast Mentoring?
Yes, I currently do volunteer with Steadfast Mentoring.
And that's actually a program you can work with and get SALT credit for. So if this is something that's important to you and sounds convicting, that's a great option for SALT credit even. So thank you so much, Jasmine. This was incredible, and we really appreciate your time and you sharing your passion with us. Thank you. Let's give it up for Jasmine.
It has been such a joy to watch Jasmine as she learned about and dove deeper into this topic. Jasmine's been an inspiration to me for modeling what it looks like to find something that intersects with your life, something that you're passionate about, and not leaving it at just arm's length. Like digging in and stepping in even closer and finding a way that her gifts and talents, her opportunities, her time, her resources could bring something to bear on that need in her city and in the life of someone that she cared about. And I can't help but think about the question, Jasmine, that your mentee brought up. This need that she found in her own life. I want to find out what my purpose is. I think about how important that question is, not just for your mentee's life, but for everyone's life who's in this room, whether it's a student or a staff member or a faculty member, that all of us in one way or another are looking to find the answer to that question, what is my purpose? I think even about your education while you're here at Lipscomb. I don't think that you're here at Lipscomb learning just skills or abilities. You're not just here to try and go get a job. I hope that you're here because you are trying to figure out what it means for your skills, your talents, and your abilities to intersect with the needs of the world that you live in. There's this great quote by an author named Frederick Buechner that I want to share with you because Buechner talks about the idea of vocation. Vocation is the place where our deep gladness meets the world's deep need. That's the sort of discernment that we want to invite you to think about. As you consider what it is you're learning, it doesn't matter what field of study you're in here at Lipscomb, it doesn't matter where you want to live or what you want to do with your life or what job you want to get. Our hope, our dream, our challenge for you is that you would find ways for your skills, talents, and abilities to intersect with the needs of the world around you, to discern not just a job or a career path, but to find a vocation, to find the place where your deep gladness meets with the world's deep need. And I even think about the opportunities that you have to explore, to find that place, that intersection, not just on the other side of the world. Often, as we look for where that intersection might be, it's usually just right in front of us with the people that we come across, whose eyes we meet on a day-to-day basis, even the people on this campus. Especially in the middle of this season with tests and exams and projects and the end of the semester looming in front of us, I think about how many of us on this campus are grappling with stress and anxiety, have been confronted with mental health issues. I can't help but think about the holidays that are approaching, and for some of us, that means being confronted once again with family issues or maybe even family absences. And I know there are a handful of students on our campus who've been attacked by physical health issues of one sort or another. And even just this last week, one of our own, Annie Palmer, who's a freshman here at Lipscomb, was diagnosed with leukemia. Annie lives in Elam, and I was so just overwhelmed to think about what happened last night in Elam, where some of Annie's friends and co-residents surrounded her and prayed for her and stood by her. And I couldn't help but think about the idea of our abilities and our needs, our giftings, the way that God has made us and how that intersects with the needs of those around us, not even just those who are in a different city or in a different state or on the other side of the world, but those who we interact with on a daily basis, even people that we live next to, that we cross paths with on this campus. The opportunity that we have each day to live into our calling, our vocation, our purpose. That's our invitation for you to think deeply in the next few weeks, through the rest of this semester, with everything else that's going on, to think deeply about what it means to discern your vocation, your calling. What is it? Where is the place, that intersection of your deep gladness and the world's deep need? I want to invite you to stand with me, and we will end, as we always do, with these journey statements, the reminders that we need. Let's go to those journey statements. Will you say these with me, and then we will pray together and end. I am part of a bigger story. I am an important part of this community. I am loved. I am equipped. I am not alone on this journey. God, we are thankful for those words this morning, that reminder that we are part of this community, that you have gifted us, you have given us powers and abilities to work with you, to participate with you in the world. Would you give us insight and bravery to use those gifts and abilities? It's your name we pray. Amen. Go and be blessed.